for London bailout package. Venezuela declares 8 abducted soldiers rescued. Details of these and more after this break. I am Omoye Ugbede. Kenya has warned that it may impose a total ban on flights from Somalia, including those on humanitarian missions. The Foreign Affairs Ministry said in a letter to diplomatic missions that humanitarian flights were being misused for bilateral and political matters, even after Kenya had suspended other flights from Somalia to its country. According to reports, Kenya recently suspended flights from the neighboring country, but exempted medical emergency evacuation flights and those on United Nations humanitarian missions. But it now wants that humanitarian flights may strictly be used for humanitarian purposes to avoid a possible declaration by the government of Kenya of a full lockdown on all flights. The ministry has also required all humanitarian flights to seek clearance first and provide a list of passengers as well as the goods to be transported. Meanwhile, Kenya and Somalia have been entangled in a diplomatic row for long, including a maritime border dispute that has persisted since 2014. On 6th of May, it said that diplomatic relations had been restored after mediation by Qatar, only for Kenya to announce the suspension of flights weeks later. Kenya says its airspace with Somalia remains closed owing to severance of diplomatic relations between the two countries. And gunmen have attacked and wounded Uganda's transport minister and former army commander, retired General Katumba Wamala, killing his daughter and driver. According to witnesses, men on motorbikes fired several shots at the vehicle while traveling near their home in the capital, Kampala. The army says phone calls potentially linked to planning the assassination attempt are being investigated. In the meantime, soldiers are guarding the hospital where the minister is being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. And Transport for London has secured a £1 billion funding package from the government, which is the third bailout since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. The government has now given more than £4 billion since March 2020 to keep services of the tube and buses running. The deal will provide funding until 11th of December, but requires the transportation to find £300 million of savings on new income sources this year. 2 serving members of the British Army have been arrested and charged with firearm offences. The soldiers, Kirtland Gill, age 40, and Rajan Graham, age 32, both from Berkshire, are accused of trying to sell ammunition from the armed forces. They were charged following an investigation by the Metropolitan Police Flying Squad. Both men have been bailed to appear at Westminster Magistrate Courts on 1st of July. Gill has been charged with 1 count of conspiracy to sell or transfer ammunition and 1 count of possession of a prohibited weapon, which is an imitation firearm capable of discharging noxious liquid. Graham has been charged with 1 count of conspiracy to sell or transfer ammunition and 4 counts of selling or transferring ammunition. European powers have pressed the United States and Denmark over reports the two worked together to spy on top European politicians, including German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Danish broadcaster DR said Denmark's Defense Intelligence Service collaborated with the U.S. National Security Agency to gather information from 2012 to 2014. According to reports, Denmark's Defense Minister Trine Bransom did not confirm or deny the report, but told news reporters that systemic eavesdropping of close allies is unacceptable. Indigenous groups in Canada have demanded a nationwide search for mass graves after the discovery of the remains of 215 children. Authorities announced last week that remains were found at a former residential school set up to assimilate indigenous people. The children found on Thursday were students of the Camplus Indian Residential School in British Columbia that closed in 1978, and some were as young as 3 years old. The discovery sparked outrage, prompting some in Canada to lay out tiny shoes at makeshift memorials. Although the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, pledged help, he did not offer specific commitments about what the government would do. The National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, Perry Belgade, said the families of the deceased deserve to know the truth and the opportunity to heal. He also promised a thorough investigation into all former residential school sites that could lead to more truths of the genocide. 8 Venezuelan soldiers seized by an armed group near the Colombian border have been rescued, although the defense minister of Venezuela, Vladimir Padrino, did not give any details about the mission in which the 8 were freed. A group of Colombian rebels has said it was behind the abduction of the soldiers. The group, called itself Third Front Martin Villa, said in a letter sent to the Red Cross in May that it had seized the soldiers during the clashes on April 23rd in the Venezuelan state of Apure, which borders Colombia. There were no reports why it took another 3 weeks to let the Venezuelan soldiers free. In his statement, General Padrino said the armed forces were searching for 2 more soldiers, but did not give any details about their disappearance. And that's KUFM's news around the world. But before we go, a quick recap of the headlines. Kenya threatens to ban Somalia humanitarian flights. Government agrees £1 billion transport for London bailout package. Venezuela declares 8 abducted soldiers rescued. Do remember that the continued unity of Nigeria is a collective responsibility. Be sure to play your part. Do not forget you can listen to us anywhere in the world by visiting our website at www.kufm.net or download our mobile app from the Google Play Store. We are also on YouTube at KUFM Nigeria. KUFM's News Around the World was produced by Gloria Vitalis. I am Omoyo Gbaide saying thanks for listening. Good afternoon.